Excellent. So last question then is another one from David Gilroy at Store Excel, and he's asking, could the increased focus on e-commerce trigger the use of wholesaler subscription services? Now, I know this is something that came up at the event that we did at the end of last year with this group. And I think it was actually your team that had mentioned subscription services, Lottie. So I don't know if you can cast your mind back to last November. I don't. Is wholesaler subscriptions are wholesaler subscription services something that could become a thing in the future?
I think never say never. I think what's successful about the subscription services that exist in the B2C world is their very strong proposition. They have a reason for being. So I think creating a subscription service for the sake of it, that's not going to do anything. It's all about finding the point of need for the shopper base. So, I think why the sort of the staple goods type delivery that you get on Amazon via Subscribe and Save is so successful is because it fulfills a need for quite a dull part of someone's shopping. I'd like to be able to remember back to November, but I think there are probably parts of our sector that we operate in that have similar things that are bought on a very regular basis and have a very regular consumption level that perhaps are less price sensitive or have less price change going on, that I could imagine there would be a similar need for. But I haven't seen that much test work done in it, but I think it'd be quite an interesting one to see what the take-up rate would be.
Excellent. So Tom, from your perspective, do you think it could be something that in the future could become a thing?
I think that in the subscription service model that we see on a DC, B2C, whatever you want to call it, way of working, probably is not something that I could see working 100%, but potentially with a small twist. And actually, that twist could be, JJ's, DB's. You guys say, right, we are going to be supplying that product 100% to you, and we set up an interlinked EPOS Maxi Mini system, where it then, so as it triggers a certain amount, then it gets delivered in, because there will be seasonal peaks and troughs that occur and buying patterns that happen throughout the year, that actually 1 case per month, 2 cases per month just will be too much stock one period, but then too little stock another period. And so I think having it comes back to the data question. Using data to drive a subscription model would probably be the way that it could succeed within the wholesale market.
Excellent. Okay. And Mushtaq, I know that at JJ, you're always looking at new things and new ways to kind of gain an edge. So has subscription ever been something that's been something you've explored, or something that has been mentioned as a future option?
Let me just highlight on this. Subscription model, however new it seems, is not that new. Because if you think about it, even in our business, we had the concept of standing orders and repeat basket concept, all these things. This existed decade ago, and we practiced it, and we still do. All we don't do is call it as a subscription service, which, say, for example, what is that razor company? The $1 billion razor company first started like $1 thing, and then Gillette, I think, bought them out, and then Amazon started like the dishwasher tablets or washing machine powders, and now lots of the range is expanding. But for me, it's not new. It has been there for so many years, and we do a lot of it actually. But what we find out, even I think Lottie alluded to that if it is like a repeat buying, and we as at JJ are very well positioned in that, because if you think about it, I mentioned earlier on, the restaurant's menu do not change. So there is a great opportunity to have a subscription model in place, but backed up with good flexible customer service and technology as well. So if we set up, say, for example, for a coffee shop, 5 bottles of milk every Monday as a subscription model. Suddenly, if the weekend weather was bad or good or whichever way, and the shop owner, the restaurant owner needs a little bit of extra or cut down, he should have flexible model of either reducing it or overriding that subscription quantities and things like that. So there are opportunities, and there are room for exploring this. We already had, say, for example, education sector. we already had that repeat order for set week, like Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and we still have some, but it's not a big chunk. It's very focused customer base, very because the school menu, they have got like this 4 weeks on and then 2 weeks off and then 3 weeks on and then half term break, things like that. So for that sector, we have like some of these practice already in place, so that we can actually bring the product rather than putting it for the whole term in the freezer. We bring it pretty much just in time, say two days before we are supposed to deliver, things like that. That's in place, not over publicized on our e-commerce portal, but there are good opportunities to improve on that, especially when customers are buying the same item week on, or sometimes even like multiple days of the week in a repeat pattern. It's a good model to explore for the wholesalers. I would agree with Tom.
I mean, it's something actually that, so both of you said, I mean, Tom said, looking at data, and Meshtat, you're talking about actually the reality of having a core order and things around it. I know, for example, some place with much bigger resource, but I know Tesco at one stage looked at something of an if this, then that system. So that obviously, as you say, if the weather works and you would want to have your barbecue added on there automatically. So is it sort of, you see it there as more of a convenience thing, really, so that people don't have to go and source it on the site?
It's complementary, yes. I mean, it has to be a complementary service offering, but it has to be backed up by serious amount of data set. And that's where, all these automatic recommendation engine, the forecasting engine, which actually links up to the e-commerce portal or even telesales screen and so on, what you need to, because it's pointless recommending just randomly with like a scattergun effect, any product and every product to every customer. Because say if it's a Chinese restaurant, what is the point of recommending steaks and burgers to them, right? Yeah. I mean, I just simplified the example, but again, within the Chinese restaurant, if he has actually bought the, say, your sea bass or scampi or noodles just yesterday, there's no point of recommending it today because he has already stocked up yesterday. So it's not only the sector specific, it also has to be time specific. Right, so that's why it makes it very complex once you think about it. Now, Andy will probably agree on this. If I bring some operational activities onto that, if you have got minimum order values set, now at JJ we have got, say, 79 pounds minimum basket for deliveries, right? Now you have a subscription product set up for that customer. My example of milk. Now 5 milk will be £5. Now the next Monday, when the subscription model kicked in with 5 milk and I've got £5 order, I'm still short £74 to make that journey worthwhile. So it is very easy to say that it can be done technically. Yeah, it's fine. But are you making money out of it? Operationally, transport, logistics, when you put all this equation into all these points into the same equation, then you find out that it is a bigger challenge than actually thought initially.
Excellent. I mean, people obviously spoken about Amazon. We did have other questions from other people as well, and Amazon came up on one of them. And is it a case for you as wholesalers? I guess, Andy, it'd be interesting to hear from what you've got to say on this. Is that how do you learn and decide on what you would add as an addition? I mean, you look at Amazon, and do you see them as someone that you would borrow ideas from rather than a threat? I know that what they do is something different.
Yeah, no. Yeah, they're not a threat. I mean, my customers are ordering from it. Well, they're not a threat at the moment, I suppose. They're not going into wholesale, which is possible, because obviously if they're already going into groceries, and by default that means they're actually still buying in products in cases and not in consumer units to start with. So I suppose there's an element that could be a fairly scary competitor. But in terms of the website, I don't look at it as a competitor. We look at it in terms of, like everything else. You take the best of everything else and try and use it for your plagiarisms. It's something we're all guilty of, to be honest. No, we've tried to look at it in terms of, just how does it work? A lot of it has been around how does it work as a consumer? Because all of our retailers, as I alluded to before, all of our retailers are consumers. And one or two of our competitors' websites are not very user friendly, and really we need to make them look as best as we can, as similar to the business consumer sites, because all of our retailers are consumers. One point I'd say there is that we've used that model every time we spoke to an on-trade customer, saying, well, you must use Amazon, to which they all agree they do, but they still don't seem to want to use our website. So I can't completely work that out. But yeah, certainly some of the things that Amazon do in terms of recommendations and similar baskets is, you know, we're doing that manually a lot of the time and actually setting up activity. We've got something on the website at the moment with Red Bull that we've arranged at the moment to try and push their zero product, so that the website currently, any retail that's purchased previously purchased a Red Bull product is likely to have customers coming in their store that's interested, that's already in the category and interested to be to look at a new Red Bull product. So we simply recommend that to that retail. That's kind of fishing where the fish swim, but it's actually providing them with a targeted new MPD information with a deal alongside it. But in an ideal world, as I said, I'm sure Amazon hasn't got armies of people constructing those deals specifically against that data. It's running a very, very big data warehouse that's automatically working that out in milliseconds for those customers.
Excellent. I know, Tanya, you wanted to mention something as well.
Yeah, just pulling on, moving from the subscribe and save model and actually just coming back to pricing in general, and that there are an awful lot of wholesalers out there who already have incredibly complex price schemas in place, you know, and loads of different price bands for different customers. I think that is the short-term opportunity, is around personalised pricing and price banding with customers online and flexing prices at different times. And I think there's two things on this. I think, yeah, back in the day, Amazon did have people sat there mapping customer journeys and working out, you know, the best way of doing things. So let's not underestimate that there is a brain still sat there somewhere writing the algorithms that Amazon is now using. Actually, you know, for the data warehouse, for example, Andy, that you guys have got, you know, it is perfectly possible to work out which customer came in last week and bought crisps and snacks and, you know, therefore should be buying soft drinks. We're doing that already. So it is possible to make this sound more complicated than it is. And a lot of this stuff is already happening. It's just moving it online, I would say. And small steps, you know, just because there's a massive task here doesn't mean we shouldn't start somewhere.